Hey guys, welcome to the Breathwork Challenge. I'm super pumped that you guys signed up and you're here today. While we're waiting for a lot of other people to join, I'm just going to go into a little bit of the background on breathwork and talk about why I do it and what I've learned from doing the breathwork. First of all, this certainly wasn't invented by me. I follow a method called Wim Hof, the Iceman. If you've never taken the time to see it, there's an amazing special on Netflix called The Iceman, and it's all about how Wim Hof used breathwork to modulate his immune system, to run a marathon in the Arctic Circle, to run a marathon in the Sahara Desert, to hold his breath for 14 minutes under the polar ice caps, to actually embed himself in ice up to his neck for 2 hours without the distal tips of his fingertips changing more than 2 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is a very, very, very powerful way that we can harness some of the healing power of the human body. You know, I say all the time, my favorite saying is that the presence of oxygen is the absence of disease. And nothing is more true than that statement. The presence of oxygen is the absence of disease. And so when I started to learn breath work, I immediately wanted to overcomplicate it. Like, should I breathe in through my left nostril? Should I breathe in through my right nostril? Should I go through my mouth? Should I go through my, through my nose? How long should I hold? Should I squeeze my stomach? Should I blow my stomach out? I want you to just relax. And I want us to just breathe together. In other words, it's not a specific sequence of parameters that matters. What matters is getting the air in and holding the air in. So it really does three major things. Number one, it's going to flood the blood with oxygen. And oxygen has a way of not only taking the body from being more acidic in pH to more alkaline in pH. But oxygen is a molecular component of mood. All of our elevated emotional states, passion, elation, joy, arousal, all those hell yeah, I won the lottery emotions, all require oxygen in order for us to feel them. Requires oxygen for our gut to be mobile, to move contents through our gut. It requires oxygen for us to have an elevated mood, an elevated emotional state. Our immune system uses oxygen to battle viruses, bacteria, pathogens, even to engage in something called cellular autophagy, which is where we actually take senescent, useless cells in the human body and we consume them and break them apart for amino acids. So this has so many benefits. I wish that I could patent it or charge for it, because people might take it more seriously, but it's free. It's portable. You could do it anywhere in the world. And once you start to do regular breath work and set your morning circadian rhythm to breath work, in other words, for me, within 30 minutes of waking, I am doing breath work every single day. It is the one thing that I never, ever, ever, ever miss. I never miss it. I don't even know how many months I've gone straight, probably 45 or 46 months straight without missing a single day of breath work. When I change time zones, my body knows that within 30 minutes of waking, we're doing breath work. So if I'm doing breath work, it is within 30 minutes of waking. You can reset your circadian clock this way. If you saw that travel extravaganza that I did a few months ago, where I did 11 cities in 9 days, and some of those cities were on opposite sides of the world, one of the greatest things that I took with me was the power of breath work. So here we go. Let's kind of get right to it. I want you to sit comfortably. Please never do this while you're driving. Don't do it in the shower. Don't do it while you're standing. Don't do it while you're walking down the street, or where you could get lightheaded and have, some kind of consequence. I also want to tell you that when we're doing breath work, there may be a few sensations you have in your body that I want you to expect and I want you to embrace, because they're perfectly normal. When you begin to change the oxygen tension in your brain and in your tissues, in your fingers, in your periphery, you might have a sensation of tingling or numbness. That's perfectly normal. You might have a sensation that there's a warming sense in your neck. That is perfectly normal. You might actually feel lightheaded. That is perfectly normal. Remember, we're changing the ratio of gases in the body. And when we do that, sometimes it gives us these sensations we think are abnormal, but that's oxygen flooding the blood. The second thing I want to tell you is that the main vasodilator in the body is not nitric oxide, it's carbon dioxide. So when we see our veins really dilated, you go to the gym and you get very vascular, or you see somebody at the gym that looks very vascular. Why do they look so vascular when they're exercising? It's not so much the pressure of the heart returning blood. It is the carbon dioxide leaving the tissues in the veins going back to the heart, causing that vasodilation. So there's three components to the breath work. One is we're going to breathe in a way to get the air in, but then we're going to exhale and we're going to hold. And when we hold, we're actually purposely trying to drive the carbon dioxide concentration in the blood up. We're doing that because we want to force that vasodilation. And then when we take a deep breath in, that oxygen floods the tissues. It just hits the tissues at one time. You're going to feel amazing after this. So I do 3 rounds of 30 breaths with an extended breath hold in between. We're going to start. I don't know where you guys are on your breath work journey. So what I want to do today is I want to do the first round of only 5 breaths. And then the second round, we're going to do 10 breaths. And on the third round, we're going to do 15 there, because I don't want to take you from 0 to 3 rounds of 30 breaths, because I think everybody will get lightheaded. Some of you might even get woozy. And the idea is for you to love breath work, not to just like it. So we're going to break it up into chunks. If you are more advanced at breath work, please feel free to go all the way to 30 breaths and do the extended hold. But for those of you that are new to breath work, join me in just doing the first 5 breaths. Please don't overcomplicate it. The second 10 breaths, and then the last 15 breaths. So it's going to look like this. We're going to sit nice and comfortable. Put your hands right on your lap. You can sit down on the floor, Indian style. You can even lay down if you'd like. You can sit on a couch. You can sit on a chair. There's no real proper way to do this. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that every morning I go out in a basic lawn chair outside. I face the sun. I horizon gaze, which is so good for our eyes. You know, we spend way too much of our time within 12 or 18 inches of the focal distance of our eyes, instead of gazing out over the horizon. You know, ancestrally, we used to spend a lot of time scanning the horizon, and we were aware of our surroundings. And now, because we spend so much time in that 12 to 18 inch zone, the level of nearsightedness has gone parabolic. It has absolutely skyrocketed. So if you really want to put the breath work on steroids and you're in a warm enough climate, do it outside, exposing your skin to sunlight, and do some horizon gazing. Look as far off onto the horizon as you can. Let your eyes focus way out in the distance. Okay. So now onto the breathwork technique. So we're going to do sit comfortably, put your hands on your lap, and then I don't care how you get the air in. You can get it in through your mouth. You can get it in through your nose. There is no specific way to get it in. I saw Wim Hof make a funny joke one day when somebody was trying to overanalyze his breath work, and he said, just get the air in. So when we breathe, I want you to breathe like you've been held underwater for 2 minutes and you just broke the surface of the water. Like literally, like you didn't know if you were even going to get another breath. Right? I want you to breathe obnoxious. I want your neighbors to think you're in a cult. I want it to be obnoxious. I want you to breathe like your life depends on it, like this. Like you're frightened, like you're not going to get another breath, an obnoxiously deep breath. What this is going to do is it's going to drop the air down into the lobes of your lungs. Most of us spend the majority of our time breathing with the apex of our lungs, the smallest apex of the lungs, the top of the triangle. I want to get air down into the lobes of the lungs. I also want to press the diaphragm against my intestines. Believe it or not, we can actually aid in intestinal motility, moving contents through our gut, just by doing breath work. So we sit up nice and tall. One breath is going to look like this. You don't have to do it yet. I actually try to imagine that I have a string attached to my belly button, and I'm pulling my belly button out to the wall like this. And I drop the air down into my lungs, and then I pull it into the top of my lungs like this. Like that. So we're going to start with 5 breaths. At the end of the 5th breath, we're going to just exhale. We're not going to breathe the rest of the air out. So, in other words, we take a breath in, we exhale till we're comfortable, and then we stop. We don't go and breathe the rest of that air out. Okay. When we exhale on the 5th breath, we're going to close our eyes and we're going to hold. While you're holding your breath, this is really important. I want you to get outside of your head. I don't know if you can hear behind me, but I'm on the 20th floor of my condo building, and down below me is construction trucks going by. There's police sirens off in the distance. I can occasionally hear an airplane flying by, or birds in the sky. What I try to do is I try to tune into my outside environment, and I try to find things in my outside environment to pay attention to. It may be a motorcycle on the causeway. It might be kids playing on a playground in the distance. It could be a bus going by on a street nearby. I want you to tune in and I want you to follow that and imagine what's going on there, because I want you to get outside of your head. Don't focus on the fact that you really have the urge to breathe. And then when you really have that urge to take in another breath, you're going to take a deep breath in and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to hold and you're going to get outside of your head. And you're going to find that noise, that bird, that motorcycle, that car on the causeway, and you're going to focus on that until you feel the urge to let that breath out. You're going to let it out, and we're going to start again. Okay, you ready for your first 5 breaths? Okay, here we go. Sit comfortable. Drop the air down into lobes of your lungs. Get it down like you're trying to push the air into your stomach, and then pull it into the top of your chest. And then we're going to exhale till we're comfortable and repeat that 5 times. Ready? Here we go. Now just relax. If you're lightheaded right now, it's telling you how low you really were on oxygen. Get outside of your head. Find that noise you can focus on. Find that car on the causeway. Find that airplane in the sky. 10 seconds. Deep breath in. Sit up nice and tall. If you're lightheaded, it's okay. Get outside of your head. Find something to focus on in our environment. 10 seconds. And let it out. All right, that was one round of 5 breaths. If you got lightheaded on one round of 5 breaths, that shows you how low the oxygen tension was in your tissues. You should probably be feeling a little bit more relaxed right now. This type of breath work can shift your body from what's called a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state. Remember, the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight side of your nervous system. I know that we use the word sympathetic to describe fight or flight. It doesn't make sense, but that's what it means. And the parasympathetic side of your nervous system is your rest and digest. It's good to wake up in the morning and go into rest and digest mode so that we have a base of low stress in order to start our day. Okay, so you ready for the second round of 10 breaths? We're going to do 10 deep breaths. On the 10th breath, we're going to exhale, and I'm going to try to hold for 30 seconds. Then we're going to inhale. I'm going to try to hold for 30 seconds. We're going to exhale, and we're going to go to the last round. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. You feel that tingling in your fingers and your toes. Feel that tingling and heat around your neck. You feel that sensation of being slightly lightheaded. Just hold through it. Get outside of your head. Find those things going on in your outside environment and get ready for a deep breath in. Ready? Here we go. Hold. Just embrace that sensation of being lightheaded. Let go of that sensation of tingling and numbness in your fingers, your toes. Just know you are doing something really good for your body right now. 10 seconds. And let it out. I can't wait to find out how many of you got lightheaded on the second round. And believe it or not, as these breathwork rounds go on, you should find yourself becoming less and less lightheaded, less tingling and numb sensations in your fingers and toes, less of a sensation of heat in your, okay? Because as we get more oxygen into our tissues, that distance of us changing the gases in our tissues goes down. And the more you do breath work, the less you will get lightheaded, the less tingling and numbness you will find, and the faster your body will accommodate to that oxygen exchange. Okay, here's the last round. If you got really lightheaded on the 5 and the 10, just drop out at 10 breaths. I'm going to take the rest of you to 15 breaths right now. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Get outside of your head. Press your tongue to the roof of your mouth. This creates a circuit with your pineal gland. So just rest your tongue on the roof of your mouth. 10 seconds. Outside of your head. Deep breath in. Rest your tongue on the surface of your mouth. Get outside of your head. Fight that urge to exhale. 10 seconds. And get ready to let it out. Let's let it out now. Woo! Sometimes my head itches after I do 3 rounds of 30 breaths. I get so much oxygen into my blood. Remember that this is elevating your mood. It's raising your emotional state. It's getting the diaphragm to massage the intestines to get the contents of our gut moving. It's elevating our emotional state. It's flooding the tissues with oxygen. We actually even did a vascular workout because we raised the carbon dioxide level, causing a vasodilation. We flooded it with oxygen, causing a vasoconstriction. You did so much good for your body right now. You know, over the next 2 days, I'm going to talk about additional things that we add to breath work that I call biostacking. And for those of you that were with me on the water fasting challenge, you know that I also use the Baja Gold sea salt. You can also use a Celtic sea salt in the mornings. I suggest that you take a 10-ounce glass of water first thing in the morning. Hydrate yourself first thing in the morning. You don't have Baja Gold sea salt, get a Celtic sea salt. They will have close to all 91 minerals that the body needs. Remember, human beings need 91 trace minerals. We need 3 essential fatty acids, essential meaning they're necessary for life. We need 8 essential amino acids. Those are the basics. If we're not getting those, the body doesn't have the raw materials, the basic raw materials that it needs to do its job. So you can get that from Celtic salt. You probably have a Whole Foods or a grocery store next to you, near you, that you can buy that. It's probably, I don't know, between $5 and $15 for a couple years supply. My preference is that you use Baja Gold because it has all 91 trace minerals. It's tested down to 250 parts per billion for microplastics, for glyphosates, for pharmaceuticals, and for heavy metals. The other thing that I add in the mornings is something called metal and chemical free cleanse. This is good for mycotoxins, heavy metals, mold spores. I take a drop of this and I just put it right underneath of the tongue. It's from the same company, Body Health. I just put that right under the tongue. It actually tastes like kind of tastes like a sweet cheese. Pretty good. I put a drop of that under the tongue. All of us have some heavy metals, some mycotoxins, some level of mold spores, parasites, viruses, other chemicals in our body, glyphosates, pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, preservatives. So it's nice to just have clean fluid in the body with minerals, and start to bind some of those toxins and carry them out of the body. When I'm done my breath work, I'll take a scoop of Perfect Amino, and then I'll go back and hit the gym. Remember, we need 8 essential amino acids, and we need them in a certain ratio. When you look at the way that certain proteins are treated in the body, like whey protein, or even a steak, or chicken, or eggs, the portion of that protein that has essential amino acids in the right ratios is converted in the liver and does not result in caloric intake. The portion that over those 8 essential amino acids, meaning once those 8 essential amino acids are broken down and processed, if you have extra amino acids, those are converted into sugar or even into fat. And that's why I like using something that's 99% absorbable and doesn't break a fast. I usually don't eat my first meal until around 11 o'clock in the morning or noon. My preference is to start eating at noon, but I do fuel my body with minerals. I cleanse it with metal and chemical free cleanse, and I do take a Perfect Amino that doesn't break my fast, and it's not heavy on my body in the morning before I work out. Even if you're working out intensely, if you're working out in a fasted state, you want to make sure that you put essential proteins into the body and that you don't just work out on water in an intensely fasted state, because you'll get rid of the glucose, you'll get through your glycolic reserve, the glycogen from your liver and the glycogen from your muscles, and you may start actually burning some lean muscle. So for those of you that are VIPs, in a few minutes, I'm going to move you into a different room. I'm going to take all of your questions. For those of you that are not VIPs, I really hope that you got value out of this morning. This is just the first of 3 days of breath work. We're going to build on what we learned today. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about some ways of really putting breath work on steroids. I call it biostacking. So we actually can, in the same time frame that we're doing breath work, we can stack these other benefits on top of it. But what I really want to challenge you to do is do a day for 7 days. Commit to me and to yourself and to your family that for 7 more days, you're going to do it every single day. Because I know that at the end of day 7, when you wake up on day 8, your body is going to tell you to do breath work. It's interesting how the body signals itself. You know, when we're the most dehydrated, the body loses the sensation for thirst. When we are the lowest on blood sugar, we don't feel like eating. You ever go to a restaurant and you arrive to the restaurant and you're so hungry, you order everything on the menu, but then by the time the food comes out, you're no longer hungry? If that's ever happened to you, that, you know, the question is why? Physiologically, what's going on? Well, when you got to the restaurant, your blood sugar was falling, so you were very hungry. By the time the food came out, your blood sugar had fallen, so you were no longer hungry. So the body has this way of protecting itself. You know, if we search too long for food and don't get it, it shuts off the search for food. If we search too long for water and we don't get it, it shuts off the search for water. You know, if you're about to have a heat stroke, you actually get cold to the touch and you stop sweating. So sometimes the body signals in very strange ways. And one of the ways that it signals is if you're not getting enough oxygen into the blood, it just lowers your metabolism. It brings your mood down. It actually pulls the short-term recall, focus, hand-eye coordination, timing, speed, agility. It takes those calculations away from the brain. It takes those little things that just make our day that much easier away from us, and we give it all back to ourselves by doing breath work in the morning. And I know that if you do this for 7 straight days, you're going to do it 3 days with me. If you do it for 4 more days, you're going to wake up on day 8. Just like if you hydrated for 7 days, you'd wake up on day 8 and your body would be thirsty. It would remind you to drink. You're going to wake up on day 8 and your body's going to remind you to do breath work. I'm also going to talk about how I do this on airplanes, how I do it in hotels, how I do it when I travel. When I did that 11 cities in 9 days, I went from Miami to Dallas to Vegas to LA to Dubai to Bahrain to Abu Dhabi to New York and back to Miami. I promise you, I did not lose 1 ounce of energy. I did not have one bad night sleep. And I really attribute a lot of that to breath work because my body knew that within 30 minutes of waking, I was doing breath work every single day. And I just gave my body that consistency. You know, human beings and our circadian rhythm craves consistency. Most of us are not perfectly consistent with our workouts. We're not perfectly consistent with our diets. We're not perfectly consistent with when we go to bed. We're not perfectly consistent with our hydration, but you absolutely can control whether or not you do breath work every day. Give that gift to your body so that you are consistent with at least one thing every single day. Let your body know that it can rely on you to wake up and feed it oxygen every morning within 30 minutes of waking. Dude, this is the biggest biohacking secret in the world. I'm also going to talk on day 3 about some hacks that we can use breath work for, getting us into a deep sleep, box breathing, and other extended breath hold methods. There's one actually called natural Xanax. They actually call it natural Xanax because it's more powerful than Xanax at lowering catecholamines, fight or flight neurotransmitters, the neurotransmitters that are responsible for anxiety and that feeling of anxiousness. So many of you or loved ones that you know are dealing with anxiety. They're dealing with being anxious. We don't know how to shift our state from a state of being agitated or irritated or hyper thinking on something. We don't know how to shift our state back to a state of calm. There are some breathwork techniques that we can use for that. And we'll use the same breathwork technique every single morning. So for those of you that joined me this morning, thank you so much for putting your trust and confidence in me. I love and appreciate you guys. Without you guys, there would be no Ultimate Human. I want you to continue to put your requests into info@theultimatehuman.com so you can tell me what subjects you'd like to see me cover on my podcast. I've had a lot of requests to increase my exposure to females and female hormones and female reproductive care and hormone balance through menopause. So you're going to start to see some of the leading physicians in the world popping onto the podcast and talking about those topics. I've had a lot of questions about breathwork. Hopefully I'll answer all of those over the next 3 days. For those of you that are in the VIP group, we're getting ready to shift over and go into an extended Q&A period. But guys, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart this morning for joining me on the Breathwork Challenge. 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're going to do the same thing, 3 rounds of 5, 10, and 15 breaths. But we're going to stack a biostacking technique on it. You're not going to want to miss it. I will see those of you that are not VIPs tomorrow at 8 a.m. The rest of you guys, I'm ready to take some questions.